How's it going, everyone? It is Friday, September 20th, 2024, and I am back. Was out at a conference for all of this week, so was watching the market, but couldn't really record a video. So let's go over just the trade that I closed, and I made a post about this, but we're going to go over this trade in person here, which was U. So we took U long on the 12th at around 1882. And then I closed it just before the FOMC at about 2065. So had a nice move up. You can see here's the pattern for you. A very, very weak stock. It had put in a base over the course of a few months, kind of around from June all the way to September. We broke through that with some news, some heavy volume. So I got in over here. Technically, I'm leaning on this horizontal support level as well as this SMA over here. So those two are some points of support. Stock moved up much higher, and then it started to wane out over here. If we zoom in maybe a little bit, probably to something like the H1 chart, you can see how after this move, stock has been compressing. It's been a little bit choppy. It might be close to some resistance coming up around 21. Maybe you can call it 2140-ish. So I think on this next leg higher, it could do pretty well, but still on a buy signal on the H1 basis. I took profits mainly because we had the FOMC meeting coming up on the 18th, and we just didn't quite know what to expect. So we got a good gain. We got in at around 1892, so we're on the close over here, and we took almost a $2 profit on that stock. Definitely above about a 1.5 ATR move, I would say. So that is a nice win. The other pick I gave on the 13th was DHI as a day trade. So here was DHI. I believe this is the 13th. Nice little stock here. And we're going to go to the market on the 13th over here. Oh, it's probably faster if I do this. All right. So here is the 13th. All right. And then we're going to go to DHI. All right. So this is what the setup that I saw a little bit early in the day. I say, hey, look, if DHI can kind of close above this level and hold, we get something going. You can see that the stock didn't really do a whole lot today. Was pretty flat on the day. So even if you took this breakout, a pullback to VWAP, maybe you could have got in or added at the LRSI cross and taken profits at the high of the day. But I ended up kind of avoiding this trade by the time we got here at 12:15. Here's the market kind of at this point. We made a pretty big move already yesterday. We had a kind of a gap and go, so I wanted to just rather wait for a market pullback and see what happened. Market pullback, stock did find a little bit of support earlier, so it found support at 1240 and started rallying up. Here's 1240, here's 1245. Market found support a little bit later, 1250. So I think getting in maybe on that LRSI pullback could have been a little bit better. I think that HA reversal would have also triggered at that time. Yep, would have triggered right here. But ended up being a no trade. Just didn't quite have the momentum that I wanted. Other trades were working better. Something like Redfin was a much better trade that day. So DHI was a no trade. So let's go over the market. Couple days. Spent just all of this morning getting my bearings, making my plans. I haven't taken any trades today personally, as I just get a sense of what's going on. So on the 16th here, we're just waiting for the FOMC meeting. So we got some dead days here. Volume was a little bit on the lower side. We got a little failed breakout here, and then we got to slap back into the range. So on the 18th, again, pretty dead day. We got some volatility in the FOMC. The Fed announced a 50 basis point cut. And the interesting part, if you look at the Fed watch tool, was that the chance of a 25 basis point cut was kind of the expected move pretty much until the last few days or so, the last 3 or 4 days before the FOMC. The chance of a 50 points basis cut drastically increased. And on the 17th, the day before the FOMC meeting, the market had a 64% chance of a 50-point basis cut priced in. So that's what we got. It was a slight favorite there, maybe a weighted coin toss there. And we didn't see anything that day. The next day, we got a big gap up. And one clue actually that was interesting is if you look at the overnight futures on SPY, you will see that there is a big move at the end of the session there. So I'm actually going to go back and we're just going to take a look at the session here. Yep. So this was the day. Nothing over here. Then boom, some stackering candles at the end of the session, closing near the all-time high. We get the gap up. Market is just kind of churning up higher, higher. And then we open up for the day. So that's what the session looks like overnight. Now, we're going to look at what really, I guess, maybe to rephrase this, what changes here on a longer term context. So we're still bullish longer term. The rate cuts are coming down. The Fed, I think, has talked about 2 more rate cuts for the end of the year. Most likely a 25 and a 25 for the last 2 meetings. Market is a little bit more optimistic. They have about a 75% chance of 3 to 4 rate cuts rather than just 2. 2 is about a 25% chance. So the market is a little bit more optimistic. I tend to lean on the Fed side here because it's very, very rare. I'm not sure if it's ever happened where we get back-to-back 50-point basis cuts. Even the chance of a 50 BPS cut is very rare historically. It's usually only done in major emergencies to really prevent any sort of recession damage. So that's the main thing on the agenda, really the rate cuts and what's coming up over there. Some other news over here. The main thing that's going to be coming up now is the election season in November. That always starts to heat up after Labor Day. We might see some volatility, maybe some dead spots in October. What I do want to see, though, for more of a shorter term market outlook is some sort of tailwind into October. Given this breakout that we're seeing here, I'd like to see some follow through on that breakout. So on a longer term technical basis, here's what we see. So we had that big move. We got a pretty big drop in July. We were traced all the way back to the all-time high. So that was pretty bullish in terms of that move. Sellers try to give it another shot in September. And then we get that big reversal candle here on the 11th. And then we ride it back up to the top. So, that's kind of what is what's been going on. We got these big moves down, and then sellers gobble it up, and they actually managed to get it back to the all-time high. So we kind of have this ascending triangle, same highs, higher and higher lows. The market eventually gets that breakout. So this breakout is different because we've actually spent some time digesting some of the gains. And if you look at the move that the market has made, let me not to show all of these here. Look at the move that the market has made, over the past, this whole year and many, many months. We got a retracement here. We made a pretty nice move. It's just been going up. So that's kind of the first period of just volatility and weakness that we're seeing over here. It's made swing trading a little bit more difficult, but a little bit more ripe for day trading. Now, again, on a shorter term time basis, I wanted to see this all-time high hold. And for any sort of swing longs that we're taking, we want to see this level hold. We don't want to see any sort of material close below this level. And at the very least, lean on that 8 EMA over here. Don't want to see any sort of close below that. That would signal that, okay, this trend is probably going to be, maybe this breakout's failed. You might have to get in on another dip. So that's what I'm seeing on a shorter term basis. So what's the game plan over here? What's the game plan? Well, on some strong stocks, we're going to try to take some starter longs. And I'm going to give 1 or 2 picks in this video on some stocks that I like. And, for me, again, I'm expecting a move maybe throughout next week, maybe the next 1 or 2 weeks. I'd like to see some movement up. Have SPY, it's at 566 now. Maybe something like 580 would be a nice move on SPY. It's about a little 280R move. But I also think that the way it's going to move in a bull market, it's going to be strong at first, and then it's going to be kind of gappy. We're going to see gap ups, gap and goes, like we saw over here, right? Off these bounces, the reversal volume comes in really strong, and then we have some follow through buying and some sustained movement for at least a few days. On relatively strong stocks, you should have time to get out once the move stalls. That's the pattern that I'm seeing right now. We also could see some sort of touch and go where we touch, retest it, and then we kind of shoot up really high. That's the other thing that I'm seeing here. On the day trading side, we know that I think bulls have longer term control and shorter term control, in my opinion. So we want to wait for that dip. We want to wait for the tide to come in, and then off those moves down, we can find relatively weak stocks and we can push a little bit higher. So take a look at the last 2 days. That is what we see. We see that little bid check, rally up higher. And this was an interesting day because the move was so material. It was just this big move overnight and then this gradual, steady drift higher, kind of on light volume, very, very mixed candles. This is an awkward scenario because really just want to get long and just stay on it for the end of the day. It's kind of a weak bullish trend day, but it's off a news catalyst. And we know that this move here, this strong move, confirms that the gap is sticky and it's going to hold. Today we had a gap down, and the more bullish move I would look for in the morning was some sort of gap fill on the open, or maybe some fighting, a little bit of fighting, and then a move up. This move down tells us that there are a little bit of sellers. Staged a bounce, tested this prior all-time high, and then we staged a pretty nice rally pretty quickly. So we staged that over here, compressed at the high day for a while, and this was starting to look like a nice bullish divergence. Then we got a long red candle to VWAP. Okay, so what does that tell us? So now we're going to be a little bit more defensive on our swing positions here, right? If you look at something like yesterday, that doesn't really, these candles here, they have lots of tails, lots of bodies, not a lot of follow through. So here we got this long red candle. We're poke below VWAP, probably triggered, flushed out some of these spec buyers here. I think this could be a good time to find some relatively strong stocks. There might be an opportunity to take a little bit of a late day trade over here. We want to see it hold, form a higher low, and then have a nice little candle that's closing above VWAP over here with a little bit of volume coming in. These volume candles tell us that we are in for a treat. You can see here how, gotta make this a little bit thinner here. So you can see how we got this bullish hammer, right? Very, very high volume. This is a weird candle, some sort of weird anomaly on the on 1055. A lot of volume coming in there. We got another high volume candle right here. Okay, so it tells us there might be some selling at this point. Come back up for the retest. Another high volume candle right here. So these little high volume tiny candles are these anomalies because high volume should correspond to big movement. So when we have a trend, right, see how this candle has much higher volume than this candle, right? And we had a much higher distance. So these two just confirm what we're seeing in terms of the price action. It validates the price action that we're seeing. When we see these massive bumps over here, right, this is a big smackdown. So this is actually a little bit more bullish because we had this tiny, tiny red candle, but then this big volume bar. So what does that tell us? Well, there was a ton of volume, but sellers actually couldn't push this bar down that much. So to me, that's actually a little bit bullish. We get this little bit of a double top here. You can see this long red candle here. This long red candle, right, on low volume had way, or this had much lower volume than this candle here. So what does that tell us? That means that, well, price got pushed down, but it didn't take a lot of volume to push it down. And you see how it quickly got gobbled back up. So that's a bit of just a bid check. It's a low volume check from institutions. They trigger some sell programs, right? See if there's any buyers, and you see that this response up happened on much higher volume than this. So this is still pretty bullish. Now, what are we getting over here? So this is a big candle that confirms, right? Long candle, high volume. Okay, so that confirms that there is selling over here, breaking through this prior resistance. Next candle here, about the same volume, much less distance. So now we're seeing some stopping volume, which is volume that's, we're going over here, moving down, but we're not making a ton of space. We get a high volume doji. So this is bearish. This is a little bit less bearish. Now we're more neutral. A little more neutral over here. And this could be a potential little pivot point. Okay, so we got all in the way. What do I want to see here? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I like to see this little hold. I'd like to see maybe one or two tails. If anything, I'd like to see something like this where we snap back and we cover above VWAP in the next maybe 15 to 20 minutes. That's the best scenario for me. It tells me that we're going to go higher, and we're probably going to break into the gap. The other situation is we see a couple more tails, and then we start to rally, so it takes longer to digest the selling pressure. It's still bullish, but not as bullish because it takes a longer time for that selling pressure to dissipate. And then the other scenario is that we actually test the low of the day here, and then we bounce off. That's the least bullish scenario because we actually got some decent retracement back. That's not what I'm expecting right now, but I'm gonna hold off any trades until we see that. And then the bearish scenario here is that we really blow through the low of the day and that prior all-time high and the support we're leaning on. That tells us that, okay, well, we got to be a little more careful, maybe not take some swing longs at the moment. So now we have our context. Let's look at a couple picks that I liked for today. So a couple of strong D1 charts just to start off with. I was checking the chat. Meta has a beautiful breakout yesterday. You can see we broke through this high minus trend line. We got the buy signal. And here's a couple of key traits I've been looking at as I've been improving my swing trading. So first, stock is above all of its SMAs, above its AVWAP-Q, on a D1 buy signal. So that's a nice. Those are just general good criteria to search for most D1 stocks. The trade signal is a little more optional, but they tend to be on a trade signal usually. Now, the other thing is that they've broken through a short-term high minus trend line, and they're right over here. So you actually see it's breaking up above this longer-term high minus trend line. So, or high plus trend line, I should say. My bad. So. So we have a breakout here. We want to see this level hold. So ideally the low of this candle or the open of this candle hold, we'd use that as our stop. So Meta is a pretty nice long. The other thing that's nice too is that you see that Meta had relative strength before the breakout. That's what you want to see. So the stock is strong relative to the market before that move actually goes underway. Cat is another one here. So this is a pretty big one. Again, you have all the qualities. We got the buy signal. We got the above all the SMAs and AVWAP E. We had this big bearish channel, and if we zoom out even longer, you can see that this had a big uptrend and then had a choppy downtrend over here. So we may potentially be joining a much more bullish move at a very, very nice point in time. Now, the channel isn't always perfect. You can see that sometimes we poke through over here. Sometimes you get a breakdown. And usually I kind of ignore these big news bars like we get on the 5th where the bottom falls out because it falls out, but then we close and kind of move back right in the channel pretty quickly. So it just tells us that there was an overreaction from the news. It's a bit of a TA that I can sort of ignore and in terms of having the perfect line that fits all of that stuff. Okay. So if we look at cat today, try to get back into cap. Didn't get anything going. So what I do is I like cat on a longer term basis. I have an M5. I have an M5 buy signal set on this stock. So once that triggers, we're good. I think it should still be on an M15. Nope, not M15 yet. So let's see what's going on here. How about M30? Is that on? M30 was also exited. How about an H1? I can actually probably check right here. I'm just being lazy. Okay, so it's on an H1 sell signal. So you can even set in an M15 alert signal. And that's also probably a pretty good entry point. So I would go trade signal, buy, M15. And these really snipe some nice entries. Most of my swings are on an H1 buy signal. They're very rarely not on that. So that's a pretty big criteria for cat. So that's the two of the picks that I like. Let's look at some other strong D1 charts today. GE is a nice pick. You can see again, we broke through these blue lines are some major levels from a long time back. They tell me to be careful. You can see I've really marked the heck out of this chart. And if I go back, I think to 2007. Make sure I kind of get all these SMAs out of the way. Okay, well, anyways, there's a price line. You can see we have this high here from 2007. This potentially may be the all-time high, although I'm not sure if that's from 2007 or 2000. Oh, here's the all-time high. Here we go, 2000, from the dot-com bubble, all-time high here, August 1st, 2000, never made it back. So anyways, there's a little marginal high over here. You can see how it actually reacted to some of these levels from a very, very long time ago. So anyways, I just like to point that out on GE. Makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. The main thing here is that it's breaking out of the short-term channel. It's actually accelerating, so it's making a new channel, and we're seeing some continuation of that. So I like GE as well. That's a nice long. So just going to look at a couple of different picks today, and then we'll kind of examine which one is looking good. Kava, you can see post-earnings breakout, came back, retested that open, found buyers, rallied up higher, tested this level over here. So I think if it can break out of this level, we are good to go, and that would be a beautiful long. But to me, it's not quite ready just yet. Hasn't quite confirmed above that high. Okay, VSE big move, a little bit overextended. Was a nice day trade earlier today that I had completely missed. Testing this, yep, this high right here. So we'd want to see that level hold. I like to see VST come in a little bit, and then we kind of establish some channel over here. So I'm going to create another alert, and I'm going to do a M15 trade signal, and I think that'll get me at a good time. VZ is another one. I liked VZ as a swing today because it's actually it's a choppy stock, bounced up higher, came back in, and now it's moving up higher over here, bouncing off this channel. I would like to see it close a little bit closer to that high. So I'm going to set another alert. I like these. I love these trade signals for alerts and finding stuff. I'm still experimenting with them a little bit, but they are very, very, very nice. In fact, I've just from passively observing, I think most of my day trades have pretty much always been on a buy signal. They usually come in before I enter, and then it gives me that extra level of confirmation. So this is what I want to see. We got the pullback in the market here. Also potentially find some strong stocks. CEG is holding up pretty well. Probably set a LRSI alert. Keep an eye on CEG. All right, so what are some swings that we can take? Looking at some strong D1s here. Let's look at Toast. Toast is choppy. Don't love it, to be quite honest. It's too close. I mean, it could work at this level. There's some resistance at that level for Toast. It's grinding up higher. It's looking pretty good today. It's not bad. It's not bad. Not my first pick. APO. APO is nice. It's making a pretty nice move here. Close to this high, potentially filling in this gap. So there's the gap fill on that. Could work. Could work. I'm going to keep looking, but certainly not bad. Carvana is quite beautiful. I think I'm actually long that stock, yeah, from this buy signal here. So that has been an absolute beauty. I did lie earlier. I did take a trade, but it's a small one-share trade. Get me back in the game. Carvana could work. I'd ideally actually like to get it off over here on the 16th. That would be a lot better, in my opinion. Closer to the 8 EMA off that AVWAP Q, and then I could really ride that guy up higher. So I think I missed a little bit of my move, and this is what I would see her come on. All right, here's our bullish channel. Here we get the breakdown. If I go back to an H1 chart, so we see it on the 12th, that the H1 alert should have actually triggered before that. This is a beautiful move up higher, by the way. Yep, so H1 alert, yeah, triggered on the 12th. So triggered on that. You get in probably on the close of the 12th over here as it confirms. And yeah, you're good to go. Beautiful relative strength. And we just advance higher. So Carvana is not bad, a little bit out of the gate. Let's see if anything is a little bit more fresh. Cart, yeah, also sort of accelerating there. VST already took a look at. CORH, don't like that long tail. ANET is not bad. So it was actually in this wedge here, broke this wedge to the upside and had some follow through from there. You could maybe take the swing leading on this level. I do like how it's holding the gains today. Pretty nice move on a net. All right. I think I'm going to go with, yeah, Meta's good. I'm going to go with VZ. I think that's going to be, although I'm not sure how well Staples is going to do on something like this. So, yeah, I like VZ. And what I would do is sold an emphysine trade signal. Yeah, I like VZ as a swing longer term. I think that's where I would take it. So that is going to be our pick, VZ long swing. And this is also on the condition that SPY closes above the low of the day over here. So I take a starter there. The other one I like, man, I do quite like Cat, gotta say. So I probably will take Cat over here and then digest some of these gains. So waiting for that M5 buy signal. Cat, long, swing, M5 buy. Again, we want to see that market close above the prior all-time high. Use that as support. Same thing with Cat. I want to see some relative strength over here. I want to see the stock be on a buy signal, and that'll get me interested in that position. So those are the two trades for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're going to take a look at how these did on Monday.